You're listening to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast, where we discuss whatever the fuck we want to. And yes, we can put sex and drugs and Jesus all in the same bed and still be all right at the end of the day. My name is Devanin, and I'll be interviewing guests from every corner of this world as we dig into topics that are too risque for the morning show, as we strive to help you understand what's really going on in your life. There is nothing off the table, and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive right into this episode. Hello, my delicious children out there. Welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. My name is Devanin, and I'm here with my good friend, John Cononie. He's an entrepreneur, a leader in the homeless sector and field. He's done a lot to help people. Sean, how are you today?
Doing good.
Okay. Before I get into your biography, I just want to thank everyone for supporting the show on Patreon, Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo. Our website is sexdrugsandjesus.com. Also, my retail store, Down Under Apparel, YouTube, Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. So let's talk about Sean. It says Sean's been working with the homeless since 1984, y'all. He operates shelters, food banks, outreach, COVID outreach, monitors hospitals for unsafe discharges, hate crimes on the homeless, and so much more. This work's been covered on networks like CNN, Fox and Friends, CBS, and many local networks. How does it feel to... Wait a minute. I want to tell, his website is homelessvoice.org, of homelessvoice.org. How does it feel to have such an altruistic, philanthropic, humanitarian body of work under you? Because this is not, most people want to brag about how much money they make or this, or traveling here or flying there, or who all they're dating and all of that bullshit. This here is actually helping somebody else. I love and I respect this. How does this feel?
Well, it started out at an early young age. I was feeding people in high school, and I opened up the shelter actually about 15 to 16 years later by accident. I had found this guy, John McCormick, great guy on the street. And I said, dude, you're homeless. He barely could shuffle any words. And I said, come in the car. I took him to the hospital discharged to the streets. And then what was the purpose of doing that? So I opened up the shelter right then and there. And that was the best feeling in the world, to be able to give this guy a house. I mean, he had shoes on from like the 80s. And this is 1998. He had Converse that was completely taped up with camera shoes. And I tracked the shoes down to like 1980 something. So helping this man he looked just like Jesus. And his eyes were beautiful. And he became my best friend. And that's how we started. And how do I feel? Every time I wanted to quit because of working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day, and actually living at the shelter, I would go down and look at John's face and I'd cry and I'd say, no, I can't stop doing what I'm doing. It was full time. I lived homeless, and I was wealthy as a young kid. I retired when I was 19.
Okay. So is that how you were able to start this? Because when I was researching you, it seemed like you took this guy home and then it's like the hospital just started sending people. So did they know that you were financially able to handle it, or like, why would they do that?
Well, I wasn't better on the bills I currently had, but yeah, we sent like 40 people in a matter of weeks. And I just kept on renting units. And finally it got to the point where I was putting out 20, 35,000 a month. And I said, no, it's time to incorporate, time to become an agency, because I can't give up my grandkids' money, my nieces and nephews' money when I die. I want to make sure, they're taken care of. And that's basically how we became an agency. And we became the largest provider in a matter of months, maybe weeks. It took the county like 7 to 8 years to try to open up the shop because there was so much resistance from the community. And their budgets were $3, $4, $5 million a year. And I was running on $250,000, $300,000 were the biggest at the time. And that was for an annual budget.
So, but speaking of the city, when I was researching you, I saw like that there was some sort of like a lawsuit from the city against you. Now, and y'all, he's over like in Florida. So you mainly service for this, like the Florida area, right? Okay, so
Yeah, we do hate crimes all over the country. We report and research them. Florida has been known as one of the states that targets homeless people. And incidentally, states that target homeless people, hate crimes in those areas on the homeless go way up. Because you're trying to open up a shelter and you hear a mayor say, well, we don't want these kind of people in our neighborhood. Kids attack the homeless thinking it's a public service. And Florida became a leader and had more attacks on the homeless than any other state. And so the city liked us. They were utilizing us. The police cars were driving through like a Burger King drive-through. But we got so big that they said, whoa, you're illegally zoned. And I said, no, I'm not. So after 2 to 3 years of civil litigation and going back and forth, I decided to buy another place in the city that was legally allowed to be there. Well, we went there, and then the city continued with the lawsuit, and we won the case. The city lost. The judge said their municipal code was vague and threw it out. Basically, we won. And then years later, I realized we were too big. They were trying to develop Federal Highway by the airport that we needed to move because we were creating some impact on the community. So they bought our shelter system out. I think they gave us $5 million for all our property and for us not. They even bought my own home and made me sign a form that I could not even live in the city ever. For 30 years. So I was extradited with no criminal offense.
Florida is one of the shittiest states like ever. And
Right now, because of politics. I won't get into our beautiful governor because he amazes me every day. He's just crazy.
so what is the COSAC Foundation? Because when I was researching, it says like the Homeless Voice website is a subsidiary of the COSAC Foundation. What's the difference?
Uh, Names. I owned a communication company when I was young, which was COSAC Communications, which was a company of Sean and Cononie. We always did charity work. So we just kept the name when I sold off the communications company and called it either Charity of Sean Anthony County or a Church of Service in Oregon, a Church of Service. And who was it? Oh, it's Search of Service and Community was one of the names we used. The cops had their own names, but that's basically what it is. Because that commission runs all the operations. It ran Helping People in America Disaster Division. It ran our trip to Haiti when Haiti had an earthquake. We brought 70 doctors there in a jet for amputation because the amputation's fast. So we got them in from Colorado. And it was such a shocking thing because we were already in Haiti with orphanages. One of my interns opened up 4 orphanages in Haiti. And Southcom allowed us to be the first civilian aircraft to land in Haiti to bring the 70 doctors there and a bunch of antibiotics.
So, that's very good that you're doing that. So what would you say your call to action is to people? Is it to establish something to help the homeless in whatever their local municipality is, or do you want people to donate to organizations like yourself that's already doing it? What would you have the world do?
If I had a dream, I made the Powerball or Mega, I would open up an agency called Making the World a Better Place. And I would take young kids who had ideas, put them in a hotel, pay for their housing, and let them go expand their wings. Just like intern, who actually was one of the first C9 heroes here in Jackson for helping kids in Haiti. He actually lived in the shelter as well with me and had a job and stayed there so he could stay for free and open up his first orphanage. So taking young kids and letting them expand on projects or just telling people, hey, I am not a rocket scientist. I created a shelter overnight with not 1 ounce of planning. God, Jesus, whatever you want to call it, gave me the knowledge that I didn't know what I was doing, but it worked. And we were able to take the most chronic people. So my goal would be to teach people they don't have to be anybody special to open up a not-for-profit. Whatever you like to do, take it, fine-tune it, and help. And it will grow. It will grow because we grew into many agencies and with no funding from anybody.
But you already had money, like you said. So what about if somebody does not have that? Can they get grants, or and it's going to be different in each municipality, but if somebody doesn't have money, should that be a reason why they don't go for this?
Learn from their sister or new work, mom and pop shop organizations. I sponsor people all the time who want to start their own not for profit. I say, I'll pay your corporation fee. I'll do your 501c3 for you. I'll do your corporation documents so you don't have to pay somebody to do that. Sometimes they give a little startups. They got a good idea. I'll help finance it. So if you have an idea, do it. It's not even very expensive to open up a charity. And you don't even have to open up, be a legitimate charity at first. You can just do the work. It will develop into something good. You're doing good, it will develop into something good. And we must share our ideas. We must take new charities and don't consider them competition. We should consider them a brother and a sister, and let's help them and don't worry about the competition. And why don't do grants? If I did any able to outreach and just go buy one. And that's what donation public gives us now. Like we did to go to Haiti. I said, partnered with an agency, we paid the bills, we got the doctor, we were there. And like 3 days after the earthquake. For COVID, we could have got paid for shots. We didn't get paid. We did it on our own. I turned an RV into a vaccine center. We went out and hit the streets. So you got to plan, you do it. If you're, whatever religion you are, it's Christian, I'm a Christian Catholic or Catholic Christian, however you want to call it. But whatever religion, our most religion teaches to take care of the poor and to help people, no matter what religion it is. I don't care if it's Muslim, Christianity, or whatever. They all talk about helping. And that's the beauty where you can interface with different agencies and get together. One's Jewish, maybe one's Catholic, but you can work together. That's the most important thing, is to help.
I'm impressed that that you're willing to help all over the world. And if somebody wants to start their own nonprofit, they can contact you and possibly discuss getting financial assistance. You know how rare it is to find somebody who like comes for money and is accustomed to that like still has a soul. Okay, because it's very easy for a person to lose themselves in options or having financial ability or really any ability. So how come you're so like level-headed, even emotion and grounded? That you come from some sort of traumatic history yourself, or like how are you able to balance having financial power and still having a big heart? Because you don't necessarily see that all the time.
My mom always gave money to the poor box at the church. If it was $1, she gave it. And I always remember her doing that. And helping people, I guess, everybody has a gift. You can help a little lady cross the street, or you can pray for somebody in your closet. Nobody has to know about it. Everybody has a gift. But you take those gifts and you act on them. So, I talk about winning the Powerball. First, there's a lot of things I'm going to do. I'm going to buy 10,000 acres in the middle of Florida, and I'm going to open up a big homeless county. When I wanted to open up a homeless city, they wanted to put me on a rail because I was going to buy a small city. The county commission said, no, we'll put them on a rail and get them out of here. I mean, the public officials stated that. So that would be like my goals. Like, I'll buy 10,000 acres and I'll tell all the homeless to come to my place. And we're going to teach people how to do it. Because, like California's example, it is utterly ridiculous. The money they spend and they get on making debt. And I've reached out to the governor, oh God, I don't know how many times. I said, I'd work for free. Just give me a chance. You don't have to pay me. I'll show you wouldn't. They never get back to you.
It's interesting. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, and I'm glad that you're the exception to the rule. Having been homeless before myself, when I lived in Houston, I hear what you're saying.
Bad state to be homeless in.
What?
Bad state to be homeless in right now.
It seems to me like damn near any Republican run state might not be a good state to be homeless in, because Republicans and people who have never really truly struggled in life, and a lot of them just haven't. They don't know the first thing about what it's like to be on food stamps, and what it's like to wonder where your next meal is going to come from. walking into a place, a store, even doctor's offices, hospitals, and they look at you when you're homeless and they immediately just don't want you there. Okay, even in emergency rooms, nurses and doctors, some of them like don't mind dealing with homeless people. Some of them are just like, ew. They're just like physically disgusted, even though, their line of work. Clearly, they're just there for the money, not for the people. So I appreciate that you're creating a safe space in your local community. You're reaching across the world and you're helping to plant seeds in other people to carry on this work. Like you said, once you depart this plane of existence. I mean, the life you're living, man, pretty much sums up, I think, the message of Christ in, or I mean, if people don't want to believe in Christ, any, great teacher that people believe in, you found your purpose, you're doing it, you're grooming other people to do the same. I mean, you got it.
You
I
know, uh,
love it. I love it.
if you don't even believe in God and Jesus, you can use the Bible with a different secular acronym. Basic instructions before leaving Earth. And if you follow the actions of Christ with again, the acronym Bible, the world will be a better place. Look how we treat veterans. And in sometimes it's the Democrats too, not only the Republicans. You try to open up a shelter, they'll come out and say, "Oh my God, I don't want these homeless people by us." You say, but they're veterans. We want to help the veterans. Oh, all the time. We don't want them anywhere near us. How do you say you're for the military and the Department of Defense victims from these wars, but yet you don't want them living in your neighborhood? That is the most pathetic thing in the world.
Now, having been a homeless veteran, as I'm a veteran too, the United States Air Force, when I was in Shreveport, Louisiana in rehab, because you got to so we talk about homeless, you got to talk about drugs. The homeless, the like the halfway houses, the three-quarter houses, the rehab houses, all the ones I've ever seen or been to are always in like the worst possible part of town, where you have drug dealers living in the building or across the street. And so it's like people are set up to fail. So, take somebody who's already broken enough in their mind to be homeless. Maybe they came back from the war with no mind left or very little, or whatever the case may be, strung out on everything. And you literally put them right next to the crack house because you don't want them in suburbia.
That's probably zoning by city officials. They want to zone the pool. They want to say they want to help, but then you put them right in the drug infested area. Makes no sense. But that's where they zone us to be. And you can play with zoning any day of the week if you know what you're doing. But like, for instance, you can't feed a great man by the name of Ronald Abbott. I think he fed people to his 93, 94. Fort Lauderdale Police Department arrested him several times for feeding the homeless. He got more news than Justin Bieber. When he was being arrested for the last time, choppers flying over. Every news outlet in the world was there from like so many different countries. This guy got arrested for feeding the homeless, 90-some years old. So cities are doing this now, passing on. You can't feed the homeless. There's an answer to that. Buy a food truck and you give them, you charge them a penny for their dinner. They cannot outzone. You can play back in cities. You just got to be smart and do it just when they make the laws. You go around the laws and you make it work.
Right. And I've seen that, here in Louisiana where I'm recording from at the moment. There's signs that people have put up saying not to give money to homeless people, claiming that it's for their safety. I'm like, I don't think it's for their safety. Like, I think that you just don't want them to be seen. People know how to not run out in front of a vehicle and get hit while they're asking for money. But I clocked that intention. I'm like, they lied. Like, they tried to act like it was for the greater good of the person. No, it isn't.
And they'll put up those signs. Some signs get really, really bold. And they compare them to don't feed the pigeons and don't feed the homeless. They'll always be there if you do. So, I mean, there's been signs crazy. But again, we go to a society that talks, we want to help, but doesn't do the law. And that's your city government. And that's the boisterous people in the city hall. who come out to all the meetings, making them really go to jail. And that's when you start making it, well, look at Christ, they crucified him for his act. So,
Small people always want to like kick the little person, while they're down, okay? Because it helps them to feel better about themselves. That's the only reason why I can think why people in power would harbor such disdain. Either that or it's just pure hatred. It feels like kind of like how racism does when they just don't want, when I've gone places and I've been called a nigger or told to get out, they just didn't want me around because I'm either black or queer. It's like along those same lines, they don't understand the first thing about the lifestyle or what it means to be homeless, but they just don't want it around, and nor do they seek to understand. It's hate fueled, it's insecurity fueled, it's fear fueled. Absolutely. No, what do you think? Like,
no answer for people that are near extreme Christian. They'll say, oh, you're going to hell for me. Well, my Jesus would probably be hanging out with me, say, what's up? He loves everybody. He just didn't like sin. And he wanted, turn your ways. He would not turn his face to gay people. He would say, come to my church. You're on drugs. Come to my church. Oh, you're a prostitute. Come to my church. We need to go back to the thinking like Christ a lot of the times because none of us are perfect, including myself. Hey, I was injured when I was 18, 19 years old. I took a lot of pain medication. Who was? Luckily, I didn't like the feeling of being high, so I was able to control it. Most people probably would have died of an overdose. But people don't even understand that. Like, it's an addiction, and they just can't stop because it changed your whole DNA in your brain, when you're on opioids for a long time. People don't want to. They don't wake up in the morning and say, hey, today I want to be a transsexual. That's a great life to live. They don't wake up in the morning and say, today I want to be a drug addict. Horrible thing to be. But people think they do. People think people want to become transsexual because they just want to be weird. Their mind is set. Gay people are gay people because that's the way they were born. It's not to be condemned. And the way we're teaching people these days with the extreme right makes violence happen, as you can say.
well, there's going to be a lot of surprise to people, on Judgment Day when we all stand before the Lord. And, in the scripture that always comes to my mind when we talk about things like this is how the Lord says there will be many people in that day, speaking of Judgment Day, who says, Lord, Lord, we cast out devils in your name, trying to bargain with the Lord in order to make it in. What they're saying is they live their life against people. Okay. Because to cast out a devil, what they mean is that they worked against people. They cast out the queer people and the homeless people and the prostitutes and the addicts. And their warning is right there, but they cannot see it. And the Lord said in the scripture, he's going to tell them, depart from me, I never knew you, because nobody's purpose in this life is to try to straighten out somebody else, or at least not to push against them or to cast them out. So that's everybody who refuses to make a cake for a queer couple, or refuses to photograph weddings. All of that is a form of quote unquote casting out a devil, because their interpretation of Christianity means to banish people. And the Lord's already told them, like you were saying, complete opposite. You were supposed to invite everyone in and find the common ground and not hyperbolize whatever it is you perceive to be a difference.
I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know there's a part in the Bible that says if you judge people harshly, you'll be judged the same by God or Jesus. People need to remember that. You can't go around picking on people because
Because you have power to do so. But as you will reap what you sow, and as you sow, you will reap. But for whatever reprieve it might be, I had a dream months ago. In this dream, it was like I was seeing these Republicans, these white conservative people, and a certain song was being sung, in this dream. And it's like their hearts had been pricked, and they had gotten convicted about the way that they had been treating and doing people. And in this dream, it's like they were trying to figure out what they can do better and how they can change. And so I just wanted to state that again because it's like just back in, in the slavery days, not every white person was pro-slavery. Okay. And not every conservative, not every Republican, not everybody on the Hill or down in the local municipalities likes what they see being done. It's harder for them to speak out against it, but I just felt so much love in that dream because I saw like their hearts turning. And so I just wanted to just put that out there because even the most conservative, strict, used to hate people, people can change. So
You wonder how Governor DeSantis do things he says.
or the sanctimonious, if you want to call him what Trump called him.
You, it's like, really? You're going to go against Mickey Mouse, and now you're going to go, and what's the Pulse nightclub, I believe, when all those gay people were chilling by the gunman. He was there. And the things that transgender show, who hasn't been to a drag? Straight, gay, bisexual, who has? A lot of people go. They're great singers. They're great, put on good shows. Nobody takes their kids and says, "Hey, I want you to do that. This is what you want to be." Gonna be who the kid is, whether the parents like it or not. And they ain't gonna take a drag for the thing.
Right. Absolutely. So we and well, on that note, before we get on to the drugs, I just always like to say that people are like a weak ass parent if they think that somebody outside of their home is going to have greater influence on their child than them. A drag queen, nobody on television can alter your children. And if anybody can, it's because you failed as a parent and your kids don't like you. That's why they're listening to other people and not you. So when somebody is homeless, they typically use hella drugs. From being homeless myself into dealing with homeless people since then, I personally have never met one homeless person who did not do drugs. And so, have you?
Yeah, they're out there. Maybe not current drug users, but they become chronic. They will become an alcoholic or a drug. It's a hard life, homeless. For those people who think that people want to be homeless, maybe about 1.5 to 2% of the homeless population wants to be homeless. They don't choose that life. So if you're living on the street, chances are you're going to become some type of addict. Just to be able to sleep at night, you need a few beers with the traffic, the noises, being scared. So if they're not an addict when they become homeless, they'll become an addict somewhere along the line. That's why it's very, very important to get to them and have enough beds available when someone becomes homeless. So that's be more preventive measures they can do so someone doesn't become homeless. It helps in the recovery aspect.
Right. What are some of the most common drugs that you have come across that you've seen the homeless using there in Florida or
Uh,
global?
I'd say a lot of crack, not so much meth in South Florida, more in the rural areas, we'll say the Trump areas. In Florida, there's a lot of methamphetamines, a lot of meth being done, not so much crack. Pills are everywhere in the rural communities as well. I mean, a lot of pain medication being distributed, or was being distributed. Now, of course, it's fentanyl all over. Florida, I think 2021 beat California on fentanyl base. And they blame fentanyl. Some people blame fentanyl on the border and the issues on the border. And Florida doesn't have a border. And more people died than California. So this great state that we live in, that one that Governor DeSantis runs, had more fentanyl deaths. And they wanted to outlaw where you couldn't test the drug because they put fentanyl on weed these days. So a little kid, 14, wants to smoke pot one time. They get fentanyl Well, they may die. So, they were, a lot of these people have fentanyl tests. They finally, I think, made it legal just recently. They signed it over time, just like the use of Narcan. Many states found that.
Yeah, I've told people that they put fentanyl in weed, and what I've been told is that it makes like a popping, clicking sound when you go to light it. That weed does not make weed's not supposed to make any fucking sound at all. But if it has fentanyl in it, probably the heat interacting with that opioid like that, I hear it makes a clicking sound is what I learned from somebody.
I mean, I think cocaine does. I've heard that on cocaine.
Hmm.
Then, I don't know.
So
Drugs. People will stay addicted to drugs their entire life if there are not more treatments.
right. So what I love though is that you have like weed stores. Yeah, weed is getting more like decriminalized and legalized, across the country. So people don't really have to go find like somebody on the street to get weed from. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's more expensive if you go to the shop, but it's safer. See, and so you can go to websites like dansafe.org to get fentanyl test strips. Up in New York, where I also live, there's like a website where you can just go just send the shit to you for free because New York is just very fucking organized. And but there's options, y'all. So weed can kill you. It is better for you to go to the damn store and get some shit from the store than to go to some homie from some damn where because you got a lot of little wannabe drug dealers and shit who don't know what the fuck they're doing. I've been a drug dealer and supplier before and hung out with the people who cook and make the shit. These people don't know they asshole from a hole in the ground. And then they're also quite bitter too. Mm-mm. Go to the store and save your life. Stop getting your drugs from weak ass people, or at least test it.
yeah. And then, I mean, finally we got Narcan now, but for years we were using Narcan at the shelter, and the police weren't very, or the medics weren't very happy and said, "Well, how did you get Narcan? You have to be a doctor to have this." I'm like, "Well, because we haven't prescribed to our non-opiate people, and the their names on the bottle are the needles." So we inject them. At that time, we were using needles because they didn't have the inhaler at the time. They didn't like the fact that we were doing Narcan for people. Harm reduction models does not encourage drug use. Harm reduction models save people's lives. It saves people contracting diseases, and all these diseases that people are getting ends up costing taxpayers more money because most of the time they're indigent, so it's Medicaid costs. People, not politicians, not look at the long term effect. They only look at what they see and what the people want to hear, like sex. I warned cities for many years. You have these laws that outzone sex offenders. You're going to create homeless sex offenders where you have no level of control. They didn't listen. Right now in our county, I think we have like 65 homeless sex offenders living in front of a department store. If they would only have zoning for them where they could live, we would have 65 in one area. Which some of them are dangerous, the majority of them are not. They're crimes like peeing in public and stuff like that. Yeah, Florida's done that. A lot of states have done that, by the way. They ruined someone's life. A lot of Romeo and Juliet cases where the guy may be 20 and the girl was 16 or 17. Now they changed the age group on Juliet, Romeo and Juliet cases where one could be an adult, one could be a minor, has to be close in age. But yeah,
Your politicians have
I don't think right.
your politicians have lost themselves. That so much if they ever were found or at home within themselves, all of that energy that they're putting into controlling humans, that has nothing to do with righteousness. The Christians they claim to be are that's even in order to try to control somebody else, you have to first be out of control yourself. Because happy, healthy, whole people do not sit around thinking about what's fucked up with other people. We don't. We're doing like what you're doing is trying to help people. those people who are running your state sound so damn broken, like personally, within themselves, to be putting this much energy. A person can't pee in public. That's just ridiculous. It shouldn't be a crime.
Yeah. Here in public because it's still massive.
Right. I do it all the time, especially in New York. Shit, you got to get on some of them subways and everything, girl, child. We whipping it out. It's not like other countries where you have bathrooms in every damn station. So, but it's
Yeah.
not a crime to pee in public in New York. New York wouldn't have that shit. Not playing it.
You know, when I decided sex offenders after younger, I took 3 of them. I said, well, that's a good idea. At least tonight. I said, one of them was nonviolent at all. No, it was a Romeo and Juliet case. 2 of them arrested relatives of theirs. I said, well, if we take them here, they're not going to be homeless. It'll be safer for the community, safer for them, and it's the right thing to do. I had on higher personal security for almost 3 years. I had so many death threats in the community. Like I was for such, I'm like, no, I'm for your kids. I don't want your kids to be, approached by a homeless sex offender. I'd rather be here with some level of control. But no, they didn't see that. But they thought I was homeless sex offender. Not like I had a passion for it.
Oh, they projected their fear onto you. They projected that fear onto you because there's no way to prove that. That's just what they thought in their head. That's just called emotionalism. It's erratic, it's hyperbole, it's fear, and it's unfortunately what runs a lot of people's lives. There is no logic to the things that they say and do. So, gosh, what do you think police are actually able to help with any of this in any sort of way, or are they more the problem? Like, what?
Well, you have some cities that hire or utilize cops to make it look like they're helping the homeless. Okay, it's a fake and bake issue. Then you have some cities that get the right police officers who have a heart and try and go out of the way to help homeless people. So it's a two-pronged approach. You got both. I hired detail police officers for like 7 to 10 years, and it really worked good where they could actually see what we were dealing with and how to do like critical incident training and how to handle certain situations. And it developed a rapport between our people that were homeless and the police. So you have some good cops out there that want to help, but you can't take a cop and that doesn't want to be around homeless people, but force them into it because they're getting complaints from the neighborhood. But Florida uses homeless outreach by police officers all the time, and some of it's good, and again, a lot of it's taken back. But it does help in a lot of things. I know some really good cops out there that want to help mankind. They became a cop because they want to do what's right. They didn't become a cop and want to drive 80 miles to their station to get a good pension and have no ties to the community. You got to hire cops that live with the community where they have ties to the community because then I feel accountable.
What's the most touching thing you've ever seen a police officer do for someone that's homeless?
Yes, would be phone calls. Hey, Sean, you got to come get this guy. He's in bad shape. He's going to die out here if you don't come and get him. We got a lot of those calls. Um, I provided ambulance cops a lot of times, and they would take me to the hardcore chronic cases. The term protect and serve is not used like it was years ago. Now, my ambition was to be a police officer. I got injured. And the cops I learned on, I was told if you shot somebody, you give that victim you shot aid because he has a mother and a father. Today, we see some law enforcement people shoot, let the person bleed out on the side of the street like they're like cover. So I was taught by a good breed of police officers. Today, we need to change some of the ways we're treating public. It's a hard job. It's a stressful job, and you want the cops to get home at night. but you don't want them shooting people because they didn't wait for their backup and decided to make a wrong call. So cops do help people, and cops are, you got good and bad in every outfit.
See, something as simple as a phone call, such a grand gesture, but it can save a life and change so many things. So I'm so happy to hear that because he made a decision not to take them to jail because what good is that going to do? They're just gonna go in there and eat and sleep, receive medical care, and then get out and do the same thing. It's
You know,
impressive.
hey, the police academy asked me to come in to speak to some cops who had complaints against them. And with the first 5 to 10 minutes of the class, I realized that these guys were not going to change. So the first thing I said to them is, hey, look, I'm not here to change how you feel about homeless people or how you treat the public. I'm going to make it pure scientific research here, and I'm going to give you a clue. Don't you want to get your pension when you retire? I said, there's thousands of cameras out. You will be caught and you will lose your pension. So run with that thing. I knew I could change maybe two of their hearts in that room. I hope it worked. There were some doozies.
That's all you can do when you're dealing with villains, and super wicked people. You have to spin it, do exactly what you did and spin it and give them a what's in it for them because they only see the world through what's going to benefit them. They don't give a damn about people. And so, but if it's personal loss, then they might shape up, but they ain't doing it to help people. I think about, I'm gonna throw a little bit of shade at like Chick-fil-A. Okay, and their whole like anti-queer rhetoric and donating to organizations that have done their fair share to cause people in my community to hurt themselves, or at the very least to dislike themselves. They Chick-fil-A put out that statement where they were supposedly walking that back. Okay, I don't think they did it for altruistic, big-hearted reasons. I think they did it because certain places would stop allowing them to open store. Their money was getting fucked up. Okay, churches do the same thing. They were anti-gay for the longest. During COVID, money started to go down. During the rise of, the queer movement, people started to leave. Now all of a sudden, some of these preachers are like kind of changing their tune on it. Okay, it's not because their heart changes, because the what's in it for them was starting to get fucked up. So I need people to pay attention to people's true intentions there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But whether the cops got wickedness in their heart or not, it's still going to result in somebody's life being saved, even if he's only saving it to save his money.
Now, I'm Democrat, obviously. And I don't like abortion, but I understand. And I hear these arguments all the time. Democrats want to kill babies, Democrats want to kill babies. Well, the Republicans want to kill babies too, because they say, okay, you can have an abortion, but it has to be done within 6 weeks. So if their heart was really for God's role or what God wants, they would say, look, abortions, period. They picked a side and they went with it. Because otherwise, why don't you say, okay, 12 weeks, you can have an abortion. There's no right or wrong when it comes to abortion. I hate it, but I understand it. I would not call someone a murderer for having an abortion, and I would assist them either way. If they wanted help, I'd give them help to keep the baby. If they wanted an abortion, I would make sure that was and I would support them up. Like this politics thing with right and left, and Democrats want to kill babies, and Republicans want to say that this is bullshit. That's why I try on the world on it. I have this topic quite a bit.
In my humble opinion, especially not being a female, I don't have an opinion on abortion one way or the other. It's not my damn business. What that woman does with her body. And when she stands before the Lord, God is not going to reach over and ask me about what she did with her body. He's going to ask me what I did with mine. And for all what a woman might be doing with that kid, people do other things with their bodies to disrespect it, with the way they fling themselves all around for sex and all kinds of different things like that. So the very people who want to judge her, the Lord would look at them and judge them. as we've seen demonstrated, throughout the Bible in various places in the world.
That Jesus gonna ask them, "Hey, did you have an abortion?" And she says, "Yes." I guarantee he's gonna ask me, "Did you eat a lot of Big Macs one? You treat your body like a temple of the soul? I'm a smoker." I'm gonna say, "No, I didn't. I smoked cigarettes, a lot of them." So no difference crime, no differences in and sins and made treated equally. If you're a Christian, you need to believe that. That's what Scripture says.
Gluttony, y'all, he's talking about gluttony. And
Yes.
so, and I couldn't agree more because it's one of those cute sins or cute things that kind of go. And y'all, when we say sin, the best way I've ever heard it described is how the Reverend Carmen Michael Smith said it. And he said it's something like sin is basically something that doesn't feed your soul and is not coming from like your highest good. And so and it's not helping anyone else around you, he said it more succinctly than that. And and so yeah, people go to a buffet, eat their weight's worth in food plus more, and nobody says anything.
Hey,
You have families. You said that's you?
oh yeah, I eat. I'm an eater. I just want on it back, but
Well, if somebody's got the metabolism, then that's one thing. But if somebody's morbidly obese, okay, and you got people who are clearly overweight in families, and people in the same family want to talk about the girl getting the abortion, but then you have this person here who was way too heavy. And I have buried people who are young who died because they were overweight. Eventually, that weight, it fucks with the internal body organs, and then it's like it can become too late to reverse it, even though they were healthy for a while. So this is why we cannot sit around just having extra weight on us. But while they want to talk about her, you got this obese dude over here. You have obese people in politics who want to talk about the abortion girl. But I'm like, when are you gonna get a gym membership, motherfucker?
yeah, definitely. No, yeah, I get about 180 pounds when I had meningitis from steroids, and I did not get it out. And recently, I was able to get out 100 pounds. I still got about 70 to go, but it can be done. There's different. It's about counting calories, how many you put off, and how many you eat. And every other diet thing, it's just not true. You just count the calories and it works. But yeah, the portion, if it's sanity, then, it may be in some cases. And every other person does sin. Everybody commits sin. But yet some of them are judged so harshly. Makes no sense. It's like they're part-time Christians. Like the great homeless advocate by the name of Michael Stoops once showed me a poster. How do you worship a Sunday? How do you worship a homeless man on a Sunday, but ignore one on the rest of the week? Part-time Christian thing, and it's such a true statement. You'll help them on that Sunday, but the rest of the week, you forget about them. You forget about them every day.
Right, or force those babies to be born and then initiate programs like this to work against them once they get here.
Yeah, originally, we had girls 12, 13, 14 bleeding out on street corners because they were going to illegal abortion clinics. This was designed to save their lives and to help them by regulating in some way. If a girl wants to get rid of her baby, she'll get rid of it, whether it's an abortion or she'll run into a wall, baby first.
It's not our place to judge, but every generation is going to have people who need help and people who stand in the way. And it's been that way since the dawn of time. So what we can do, I'm going to give my advice here, then I'm going to let you have the last word to close us out. Then I'm going to ask you a couple of dad jokes as well, just to help lighten the mood. What we can do is, y'all, when we have children, snatch them damn iPads and phones out of their hands and take their asses down to a homeless shelter, someplace like my boy here runs, or whatever it is you have, and show them what poverty looks like. Show them how a broken and fallen person must survive. Take them and take your children and volunteer with them. Don't just have fun with them and feed them and clothe them and let them run around and do whatever they want. Take them and show them that other side of life so they can have proper balance and perspective. Okay, take them out on the streets. Don't just walk by homeless people. Let your kid talk to that homeless person. Have a conversation. Engage. Don't try to shield your child from the ugly parts of this world because they are in this world because of you. Okay. They didn't have themselves. Okay. And so expose your children to everything so that they are well balanced. Now, they still might grow up and be a fuckhead, but at least you can know that you did everything and you weren't overly protective or living in a state of denial when it comes to your child.
I agree. I love it when I take my grandkids out. Like on cold weather night, we go buy blankets and we buy jackets, sweatpants, and they go out, they'll pass them out with us, and they learn. You know, I had a lot of kids used to come in like when with 10 or 12 years old, and they brought them together. I'm still friends with some of these people who are now 30 years old and have their own kids. Like I'm a school teacher, they come back and visit me. I love it just to see the way they, you know, they were nurtured and how they're taking their kid and seeing the same exact thing they saw.
That now see that's smart shit right there. That's smart shit. Like exposure, transparency save lives, secrecy kills people. If trying to shield your kid from the truth of the world will ruin them, and possibly kill them one day because they're gonna face it somehow eventually. So you can either prepare them or let them get their asses kicked by life. And so hopefully that exposure will stop people from growing up and being in the assholes too. So there's the ones that are going to get devoured by these problems and the ones that are not going to empathize with it. So, but all we can
Be
do,
part of their life skills.
Hmm?
Be part of their life skills.
Right. So go ahead and give us your last words of encouragement, advice, and then I'll ask you your dad jokes and I'll remind people of how to contact you.
I would say if you have a want, so not even so much in the charity world. Maybe you ever want to be an entrepreneur in the business world. By the way, I'm gonna hit up Shark Tank and see if they'll do a show for charity and see if they'll invest money into charities for people who have good ideas. But if you are going to the private sector, you will make money and you can help people. If you want to go to the non-profit world, start no matter what and don't let nobody interfere with it. Start off strong in new projects. And as you grow, it will grow and you can teach everybody the same thing. Just spread the word. And the more people that love, the better the world is. Love is not just love your girlfriend or boyfriend. Love is helping a stranger, helping someone.
Right. How did the Lord said it like this, greater love has no man than to lay down his life for his friend. That's beyond romance love. That's beyond loving your children, loving your parents. To lay down your life for someone means to physically die for someone, but also to live a life of self-deprecation, in the service of others, which is like what you're doing in a way. You've laid down your life to help other people because your entire everything is about the enhancement of somebody else. That's still a form of laying down your life. And so, yeah, it's all about love, man. So, all right. Okay. So, dad joke number one. And, everyone likes the good old dad joke. We try not to think too hard about these just to lighten the mood. So, these come from today, to us today from countryliving.com. Good old country living. So, how does the moon cut his hair?
Got me on that one.
He clips it.
Curious.
I really, really wanted that one as we're getting ready to get into eclipse season coming up here in October. N- What what place has more letters than the alphabet?
Post office?
Bingo.
Oh, oh.
Got one. Hells yeah. Okay. So So again, y'all, the website is homelessvoice.org. Sean is on Facebook. I see Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, good old TikTok, which I am growing more and more fond of. So thank you so much for your time, Sean. I look forward to editing and releasing this episode and to continue the good work to help all the less fortunate out there. I appreciate what you're doing.
Bring it to light to people that need to see different views. So important to have the social media, internet, podcasts, all these different ways to have more venues where people can learn from different people. It's really exciting to see all this.
Absolutely. Let's stay connected, man. Thank you all so much for taking time to listen to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. It really means everything to me. Look, if you love the show, you can find more information and resources at sexdrugsandjesus.com or wherever you listen to your podcast. Feel free to reach out to me directly at devannon@sexdrugsandjesus.com and on Twitter and Facebook as well. My name is Devannon. It's been wonderful being your host today. And just remember that everything is going to be all right.